Hey guys, good evening. It's Gavin down here, and just thought we'd go live, talk about some of the issues we saw this week, some of the progress made this week, and talk tactics a little bit. I'm just going to give you guys a minute to get in there and to get yourself listening. Let me know if you can hear me, and give a shout out. Make sure we know that the stream's working okay, and let's address a couple of these issues that we're dealing with, and talk about what's happening. So if this is giving me trouble, I'm going to restart it. It looks like we may have a little bit of a weak connection, and if so, I'll go address that. Let me know how well you can hear me and if we're coming across okay. And we'll go right into talking a little bit about informants, provocateurs, what's happening in our movements on the ground, and why it's causing such a problem, such a disruption, and why we're having so many people come in pretending to be part of patriotism, pretending to be defenders of liberty, that are causing so much damage to the movement, and how we can get focused. Now, I'm still seeing no comments, and there we go. Thanks, Brandon. How's it going? And looks like we're working now. So let's just keep it up. You know, yesterday was an interesting day. This week was an interesting week. I knew going into Vegas was going to be a bit of a challenging mission, because I've been watching Vegas all year, and a lot of it is being run by people who we've had trouble with in the past. Not that there's not good people down there, don't get me wrong, but the people that are loud down there, a lot of the people on the ground are people that I would see throughout this past year and think, something's not right here. So when I went into Vegas this week, I knew that something was off, and it took me 2 days on the ground. I was only able to be down in there for 2 days, but we just blew stuff wide open down there. There's a ton of loyalists that have been pushing a message down there, and some of them are on the ground. One of them is Doug Knowles. Doug Knowles is the man that attacked me yesterday, and we were down there. I'm actually going to pull this off. We're going to look at a little bit of video. I was down there, and what led up to that, just before I went live, what's happening is we got all these people in the courtroom, and then they're coming out and they're giving updates, but there's a little bit of a problem. I'm really proud of people that they're doing live streams and getting the word out, and that we got people watching in there in the court. But we do want to look at how we can shorten it up, right? John Lamb's pretty great at this, because sometimes what's happening is people coming out of the court and they're spending 30 minutes just trying to talk like lawyers, right? Oh, this is what the lawyer said. No one cares about that on the foundation of it. Now, I'm not criticizing anyone for getting information out and explaining what's going on in the court. I'm only encouraging us to keep the narrative strong. What is the narrative of the Bundys, right? What is the narrative of LaVoy? It was to resist tyranny. It was to take back and stop the illegal federal government. It was to get people standing up and resisting. And so when I got down to the ground, and I saw immediately that a sizable amount of people on the ground were constantly meeting with federal agents. The federal agents were coming right down there and hanging out and chatting, and everybody was acting like they were our friends. And so that's why there was this outrage when I went up to the federal agents the day before, the first day I was there, and I just questioned them. I said, you know what? You're not honoring your oath. You're not doing what you're supposed to do. You're not being a lawful officer. And the facts that were being stated, and then that my 9-year-old son, Seim, called out the officer for, were absolutely correct. I really kept it in first gear, right? I kept it easy and just asked questions, and you can see that on my YouTube channel, the conversation we had. But I called out this federal officer. This man is not a good officer. He's not a good guy. He's taking part in the abuse and treason, and he's doing so willingly for a paycheck. And so you saw in the beginning of that video, right, people are kind of fussing at me like, oh, leave him alone, he's a good guy. And I'm like, something's wrong. Something's very wrong. These people down here should already be doing this. And so there was this vibe of, we need to be nice to the feds so they'll be nice to our prisoners. Guys, you don't go to terrorists and treat them like you're their buddies and hope that they'll change, right? You can be loving, you can be kind, but here's the thing, and this is what I saw really started to concern me. If you're on the ground and you're meeting and exchanging information with the feds multiple times a day, you're an informant, guys. Even if you're not overtly trying to work with them, You think these guys are not trained to come down and ask questions and see what plans are and what people are thinking? Are we kidding ourselves? You think LaVoy would have palled around on the ground with the very feds who have taken part in this great treason? So we need to get focused. Now, what led up to the issue with Doug and him really exposing himself was that just before I left and just before I went live, I was just standing around with people and I said, folks, you got to stop hanging out with the feds like they're our friends. They're not our friends. And Doug started laying into me for this, and I said, hey, that's enough. What you're talking about. He started laying into me saying how I'm making trouble because I'm challenging the officers, right? I'm the one hurting the prisoners. It's kind of this narrative he'd been pushing. In fact, when I got there that morning, I was kind of the outcast. They had been pushing this idea that the troubles that some of the prisoners are having in court this week were because I was rude and not nice and not working with the feds. These aren't the words of patriots, guys. These are the words of loyalists, provocateurs, and informants. And I realize there's some good people down there that kind of got swept into it. And I also realize there's good people down there that didn't get swept into it. But what happened is I called out Doug Knowles when he started pushing this and started coming after me on this. Then I went to go live, and this is what we see here. It's some of the conversation I had with him, but also mainly what you on the live stream. Let's just look here real quick.
Try not to be angry.
I can't when you're hurting other people.
No, I'm not hurting other people. You'll see this in time. You'll see it in time, Doug. You'll see it in time.
It's all about you. All about you.
It's
all about you.
You'll see it in time. It's all right. Work together, guys. Hey, guys. What?
I'm knocking out of your fucking hand. You start filming me.
Aren't we on the same team down here?
Not right now, we are.
Because I'm too old for you? Whoa, easy,
So
man.
here's where he runs at me.
Relax.
Now,
Guys, that's all shot.
It's all right.
We're standing for those men up there.
Yeah, this throws all of us.
okay, now this man, Doug Knowles, let me put the phone up so it doesn't shake around. You've had enough of that the past few days. So this man, Doug Knowles, comes up here, right? And I'm down there. I'm not trying to... when he's arguing with me, I said, hey, do you want to go live and we'll talk about it, right? Because I was hoping to get him on there to reveal the issue of we don't work with the feds. He kind of walked away, and I go down to do my live stream, and he starts carrying on about being on the camera. And, of course, we're on a public sidewalk, and he kind of tries to avoid the camera. Well, we've resolved that issue. So as soon as I go live, just to give an update, not putting him on camera in particular, he comes at me. Now, he'd been threatening he's going to take my camera, right? You heard his vulgarities. And I got a really firm grip on my camera, and I still barely held on to it. He came at me hard. He struck into me, and he hit my heart. Now I want to be clear. I wasn't, like, physically hurt. But there's no question. If I had done that, now the feds were just up there standing watching, right? Can you imagine if I had done that to somebody? I'd be in jail so fast, you couldn't believe it. But here's why I disengaged so quickly, okay? Is that I had got this vibe that Doug was kind of trying to be the pseudo leader down there and push people around. And now I've got reports coming in from all over the place that he's been giving people trouble, like Lindsay, like John Lamb, a lot of our people. So most of the people that have been reliable in the movement, Doug Knowles has been trying to give them a hard time, trying to bully them, trying to order them around. He's down there pushing people to play nice with the feds, right? Now, Doug came at me, and I de-escalated because the last thing we wanted is two of us in a scrap on the sidewalk and the feds coming to save the day, right? I'm not here for a fist fight. I'm here for us to speak the truth, not to play childish games. And what happened is Doug lost control, and his play exposed him as the provocateur / informant that he is. Now, if you choose to ignore the fact that there's informants down there in Vegas, you're going to have to deal with the fallout of that. If you choose to be palling around with the feds like they're our friends and sharing information with them, you can expect to be regarded as an informant. I don't care if you're getting paid at all. We're going to clean up this message, the narrative that Ammon and LaVoy and Ryan put out from the beginning. Hey guys, we're going to put all this out, and we're going to start getting the narrative straight. So then what's happened is we got all this uproar, right? Because Gavin did this and Gavin did that. So they keep trying to push the provocateurs, whoever's getting things done, whoever's motivated, whoever's moving. They did this with Kelly Stewart in Oregon. They've done it with, of course, they did it with LaVoy, they did it with Am and Ryan, they do it with me, they're doing it with Josh Martinez, who's leading, kind of taking the lead down there and stepping up, all right? So these informants, what they do is they attack these people. They say, oh, we're looking for money, we're grifters, you know, we're looking to get profit out of this, which is ridiculous because those of us that are engaged in this have put ourselves out there. We've sacrificed a great deal. People like Kelly and Lindsay and John Lim have sacrificed a great deal to put ourselves out there at our own expense, at our cost and our peril, our life, our liberty, and our property. And so these informants who show up here and there to try and control the narrative, but are rarely around at crunch time, right? They're always the ones attacking. So what they do, like Doug Knowles, right? He comes in and he's saying, oh, peace, peace. Let's get along with the feds. Let's play nice with them. Let's talk to them and let them know we're not against them. Well, of course we're against them. They're traitors. Of course Ammon was against them. Of course LaVoy was against them, okay? But they push this message that sounds kind of nice, and people are like, well, that sounds easier, because pushing is hard, right? What you need to be doing on the ground, guys, is pushing. But pushing is hard. Pushing costs us. We need to be principled. We need to be honorable. But we need to be challenging the foot soldiers of these traitors on the ground, because those foot soldiers are universally the ones doing the dirty work. Every one of those federal officers down there is in open defiance to the Constitution of the United States and the people's rights and their oath. That's a fact. It's not my opinion. And if they weren't, they would be in there arresting the judges, setting those men free. They would stop arresting people on fake gun charges. They would stop holding people. They would stop throwing people off and threatening their arrest for handing out constitutions or speaking their mind. These are traitors. And if you're down there palling around and making friends and sharing your information and talking shop with them, you are an informant. And you will be called out as such. Doesn't mean we can't say hi and be cordial when the redcoats walk by, but start treating them like the redcoats. They've declared war, guys. This is a war, and they are killing us. The difference is we're principled. We're peaceful. Stop pretending. Man, I caught a lot of flack this week. Oh, now, Gavin, I just think we need to try and work together with them. Are you serious? Are you telling me we should go out with the officers, with the sheriffs, all these people who have universally violated their oath? Guys, you want to know something? I got this kind of through the grapevine. The Coalition of Western States, who technically I'm supposed to be a part of, and I'm on their board, but they always exclude me. The Coalition of Western States, and there's a lot of good people in there, don't get me wrong, but the problem is board meetings aren't going to fix this. Apparently there was some directive to do an investigation into researching the best sheriffs that we know of and finding out which sheriffs are constitutional. You know why you didn't see that report? Because the legislators and the people that were involved in that, they went through and they started interviewing the sheriffs that were on the list, right? They started parsing it down. There were none. There were no constitutional sheriffs. Now, I said this about a year ago, right? And I caught a lot of flack for it. And I'm hoping that Coalition of Western States comes out with this. If you've got a sheriff that is in no way defending people's rights, they're not stopping the unconstitutional violations, they're putting people in courts of treason that violate due process, they're not a constitutional sheriff. Your officers are not constitutional, or they would be resisting the other officers who are violating your rights. These federal officers, they're not constitutional, or they wouldn't be taking part in treason, in putting people away for life because they possessed something, because they had a gun. Do you see my son call that officer out the other day? That was beautiful, wasn't it? He said, well, wait a minute. There's a sign that says no guns in there. So why should you have guns in there and we can't? And the guy's just kind of like, right? This is not our friend. This is someone who is chosen, and I hope he changes his heart. I hope he comes around. I hope Doug Knowles stops being a provocateur. So here's what happened, is nobody wanted to call it out, right? We're trying to be principled. We don't want to cause division. We don't want to name names. We have to start naming the names of the people who are attacking the message. And so what happens is, like Brianna Bundy, right? And there's this video people are talking about where she got all upset and she got on there last night and she was saying that Gavin was a troublemaker and stuff. Well, it appears that Brianna Bundy has been kind of roped in by Doug Knowles because he's down there a lot. He's in the area. And so he's been planting these seeds in her ear, and she's going through a lot of suffering. She's emotional. And so she's looking for someone to blame. Her husband's been in jail for a year, guys. And believe me, I have compassion. That's why I've been helping their entire family. It's horrible. And so she's looking for someone to blame. And it's easy to say, well, look, Gavin, he's raising Cain, right? And it's a concern. And this idea, she's dealing with kind of this Stockholm syndrome, really is kind of what we see in the video. And I understand that she's going through a lot of grief and pain because of all this treason. But the very people she's defending there, they are the traitors. Our police are the traitors. Las Vegas Metro is incredibly corrupt. They are renowned for it. They're not our friends. They're not good guys. They're not constitutional officers. They're not. The Las Vegas Metro failing to do their job is why the Bundy Ranch turned into a standoff in the first place and why the federal government was there terrorizing people. Okay? And so I have a lot of compassion for all these people that are suffering. We got so many prisoners. We got the Winehouses. We got Joe Robertson. We got the Hammonds. We've got the Bundys, Jerry DeLoomis, the Coopers, all these people, right? But we've got to stop letting the informants and the provocateurs and the devil whisper in our ear. We've got to stop turning on those who are standing up, but we do also have to stop ignoring these attacks that are coming from people. We have to stop pretending that these informants and provocateurs and loyalists on the ground are part of Ammon Bundy's message, okay? That's not the message. The message of Ammon Bundy and LaVoy and the people at the refuge and at the Bundy Ranch is not obey the police. It's not obey the government. It's that we need law enforcement again. We need constitutional sheriffs that'll stand with us. But as we've seen, we don't have that. All right? And so we need to come together in liberty to stand up against the people that are opposing it. And we're going to be pushing this. And I want you guys on the ground, wherever you are, right? It's not that we want to pick fights, we want to be kind, but if you got people that are loyalists down there, if you got people saying, let's work with the feds, they're doing good, they're good guys, they're going to help us, these guys are the enemies. And we've got a lot of people taking the words of LaVoy, the words of Ammon, saying things. We got people saying things like, well, it matters how you stand, so we need to work with the feds. We got people that are actually supporting the traitors with the words of LaVoy. And I can tell you, that's not the message of LaVoy. So we have to be courageous. Don't do it in anger. And this is really important, right? Because I'm not acting in anger. I love my neighbor. Don't lash out and hop on and make a live stream and call somebody an informant without evidence or without, any that sort of thing. Don't act out in anger when you call people out. Call people out because they are failing to uphold the standard of liberty. And first challenge them in person. But if they continue to support tyranny and evil, guys, they're not patriots. If they're supporting the blue line and the police and saying, well, we got to work with them, they're loyalists. It's not about hating cops. It's about the fact that cops hate us. That cops think they're above the people. The blue line has made themselves the enemy of liberty because they've declared war upon liberty. It's a simple fact. It's not hate, it's truth. And the best way to love those people is to call them what they are. You think the founding fathers and the people in Boston in 1774, you think they stood around with the people that were attacking them and are like, oh, they're good guys, they're our buddies, right? Of course not. Didn't mean they were a lynch mob, and we shouldn't be either. Principled boldness. The confrontations you see me doing are what America needs to be doing. We need to be confronting the corrupt, treasonous foot soldiers on the ground, the Gestapo, the redcoats, the bluecoats. And people always give me this silly narrative. Oh, what's Gavin going to do when he needs help? Guys, if I'm being molested by someone, first of all, it's usually the police that are doing it. Second of all, by the time the police get there, the situation is going to have played out one way or the other. But here's the second thing. Let's say you go into a store. Let's say you go into a store and there's a cashier there, and she's a terrible cashier. She can't count. She's grumpy, right? And so it's like, well, you get to the check stand and you're like, you know what? Just check me out and give me my change. And she's like, well, here's your change. And she gives you $2 short on change. And you're like, you owe me $2. And she's like, what do you mean? And she's kind of scrapping at you. And you're like, you know what? You're a terrible cashier. Give me my $2 and I'm leaving. Now, the terrible cashier, you still required that she do her job. You still called on her to give you your change. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Tal. Hi, everybody. If the officer, because I call out officers all the time, does not preclude me. In this conversation, I think this concept I just mentioned, I think it was actually Kelly that mentioned it to me. You don't get precluded from demanding that your government do their service because you call them out and tell them to do it better. That's ridiculous. I have every right to call the sheriff and demand he do his job and demand he help me. Hey, John, and demand that he help me. And that right to call on my sheriff or my officers does not diminish because I stand up to my officers and call them out. Guys, it's time to stop playing to these false narratives, informants and loyalists. It's time to start supporting each other. Stop ignoring it when other people who we know are standing are being attacked by people who are known to divide and inform and be provocateurs in our movements. It's time to start uniting and speaking out, not just behind the scenes, but to start cleaning up the ranks. The message on the ground in Vegas is so watered down right now, and that's why we've got fresh people coming there. We got new leadership. We're going to clean it up down there. It's enough of being run by the informants. It's time for us to get focused and get back on the message of what the people from Bundy Ranch when we stood down there, what the people from Oregon, it's time to get back to the message of what our American heroes who stood and stand represent. It's time to quit playing games, to quit pretending that the loyalists are patriots, to quit pretending that the blue line are the good guys. Be kind to them, be forgiving, but stand up to them. Do like I did on the street. That's what all of us should be doing in one form or another. I know we have different roles, right? But you can all pick up a camera, guys. You can all pick up a camera. You can start by doing a live stream just like this. Start naming names of provocateurs like Doug Knowles. Stop going down there and palling around and acting like they're with us. Don't go down to Vegas and be working with informants and provocateurs. Sure, they have a right to be there on public property. That doesn't mean they're with us. Doesn't mean they're with the movement. We need people supporting in the courtrooms. We need people supporting on the street. But you know what we need most of all to push us forward? We need people being bold. Ammon was bold. Ryan was bold. LaVoy was bold. John Ritzheimer was bold. We need men of bold, principled character. It's bold when people stand up on the street and point a camera at a police officer and say, why are you doing that? That's not your job. Thank you, John. You too. You keep it up. See, we need boldness. And I realize we don't all have the same personality, right? People tend to get along with John better because he's like a big teddy bear, right? And so he's down there and he's reporting and giving us the information. And I tend to come in and just go like, hey, where's the problems? Let's get to the problems here, guys. And so we all need to balance each other out, but we all need to be willing to speak out. Let's none of us ignore the issues. Let's start looking out for each other instead of turning ourselves into some watered down Tea Party protest where all we do is wave flags but nothing gets done. Yeah, Mel Bundy was bold. Ammon Bundy was bold. LaVoy was bold. It's bold when we take our cameras and we stop and we point them at those police officers and we say, why are you harassing and collecting and extorting and making illegal arrests? It's bold when we get up to the people that are saying, you need to be cooperating with these people. You need to be working with these people. It's bold when we say, you stop. If you're a loyalist, you're in the wrong spot. It's bold when we're on the ground and we call out people like Doug Knowles who are trying to plant the seeds of doubt and discord to turn the hearts of the suffering away from the people who are helping them the most. We need bold courage. This country wasn't built on obeying officers. It wasn't built on shaking the hands of the feds and the redcoats. They worked for years to try and redress their grievances with the House of Lords, right? And they said enough is enough, we're going to stand up. We've far passed the level of tyranny that they had under the crown. The people then had far more freedoms than we do here in America today. You have to stop complying. And you need to do it with a camera running. You need to get in their face. You need to call them the traitors and the hypocrites. These officers on the streets, America's police, should be shamed by Americans every day because their actions are shameful. Their failure to stop the evil actions of their brothers and sisters are shameful. Their failure to defend the Constitution is shameful. Their failure to stop the judges is shameful. It is shame when you take an oath to defend the weak, the fatherless, the widow, and the innocent, and instead you destroy, you kill, and you imprison them, taking them before tyrants and wicked men who take everything they have. Because when people, as Jeff Winehouse says, when people lose everything, they lose it at the courthouse. And you think it's just the judges presiding over that? Absolutely not. The only reason our crooked, treasonous legislators and Congress and judges have any power is because of the treasonous officers just doing their job, working for a paycheck, standing on the side of the road and saying, no comment, I'm just doing my job. I can't do that. I can't do anything about that. America has been destroyed by us pretending that tyrants and loyalists are patriots, by us being apathetic and refusing to honor justice and liberty and moral principle. We have rejected God. We have rejected principle and liberty when we stand around and give honor to the wicked. In the Proverbs it says it's an abomination to honor the wicked, to justify the wicked and condemn the just. I'm constantly seeing these loyalists and informists, they're coming in among us and they're justifying the wicked. And it's got to stop. We've got to stand up. We've got to start standing with each other. We've got to start supporting each other and not being afraid to name names, not being afraid to make the post and say, you know what XYZ informant or provocateur did here was not okay. Stop being afraid to call out these bullies. Stand up to them. Turn your cameras on them. Turn your cameras on the officer. Let's clean up our movement. Get our eye on the ball. Get our prisoners out of jail. And take this country back. And stop getting distracted by all the faction slicing and the division that we're handed from politicians who are doing nothing to defend your children's liberty. It's time for us to get out there. And there's a few of us, we have sparks. Don't be Doug Knowles. Be Josh Martinez. Be Kelly Stewart. Be John Lamb. Be Ammon Bundy. Be John Ritzheimer. Or the Andersons. Or Jerry DeLoomis. Jeff Winehouse. Schaefer Cox. Be Joe Robertson. Be the man with the courage to say, it's not worth it to me to live as a slave. Be Lindsay. Be the person out there who's standing up. Our numbers are growing, and the reason they're acting out towards us, the reason they're attacking us verbally and physically and getting all their people to come against us with all their strength is because we're winning. We know who wins, guys. The people that stood at the Bundy Ranch in Oregon, the people on trial in both places, the people that gave up their life and their liberty and their sacred honor for you and for your children. You're going to dishonor them? You're going to dishonor them by refusing to stand up, by playing games with politicians. You're going to dishonor them by dividing us because we have disagreements here or there. You're going to dishonor LaVoy Finicum by daring to say we should comply with the government even if they violate us because they're good people. Are you going to dishonor God? Are you going to dishonor God and the people who stood to build this nation by saying that resistance to tyranny is rude, it's disruptive, that it hurts people? Do you think Ammon based the stand in Oregon on whether people wanted him to go? Shame on you if that's what you think. You need to get on your knees and you need to repent. If you're standing with people that are attacking liberty, if you're attacking people like me or Kelly or John or Josh or Lindsay or John, if you're attacking people that are actually getting out and taking action, shame on you. It's not our soul that's broken. God gives us a great gift in being hated by the world, and it hurts. People have no idea how much those of us that are out here fighting, how much pain we feel for the suffering, how much pain our families feel for the suffering of these people. Shame on you. If you're coming against those that are boldly standing, you should be coming against those who are making excuses for these traitors. If you're supporting the treason, you're not helping the Hammonds. If you're not standing against the blue line, you're not opposing the people who murdered LaVoy. If you're not rising up and say liberty before principle, honor before power, justice before myself, if that's not your standard, you don't love liberty. But I do. And God's given me a gift. He's given a lot of us a gift. I've really been thankful for it lately. He says, marvel not if the world hates you. See, the hate of all the wickedness I see, the hate that I receive every single day, teaches me humility. It teaches me that speaking the truth is more gratifying than being silent, than avoiding the issue so that you can stay popular among your peers. It's taught me that being honest and bold and defending people, whether they want to be defended or not, is justice. We need to strengthen up our character. We need to set aside our fear. We need to stop making excuses for ourselves. We definitely need to stop making excuses for those who have waged war on America. We need to start calling out our officers and our veterans who won't honor their oath. We need to make ourselves strong again. We need to make America great by having great character, great courage, and great principle. You guys have a good night. Hi, Mom. Love you.